Are you ready for an open discussion with the best of the best and the best of what's next? Welcome to the Tony DUrso Show. Join in on a great conversation today with some of the world's great influencers as they showcase great advice and techniques that made them the game changers they are today. Now, here's Tony DUrso.
Welcome, I'm your host, Tony DUrso. I interview some of the most successful people in their category, whom I call elite entrepreneurs. And I thank you for joining us once again. This show is dedicated to helping you turn your vision into reality. And I see you're growing from the wisdom and guidance given out on this show, and I am very happy for you, and much more successes to come. Check this out. Today, we're going to discuss supercharging your business with Israel Duran. Now, you and I, we have our jobs to do. It's work. It's not always easy. What would you say if I introduce someone to you who has 3 steps? 1, 2, 3. 3 steps. And his clients are doing 6 and 7 plus figures. That has your interest, right? Our next guest has a reputation for unlocking the potential of every partner. Meet Israel Duran. He's a renowned mentor who helps visionary entrepreneurs discover, design, and deliver their gift to the world. And he has 4 areas of business expertise. You're going to love this: branding, marketing, sales, and operations. Is that cool? And by the way, if you like what I'm doing, would you please rate my show on your favorite podcast or video platform? Or just go in the comments and say something nice. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, and almost all the podcast platforms. And you can also go to TonyDUrso.com/review and drop a kind one and share with your friends too that you believe would be helped by this. Okay, let's get into it. Hi, Israel. Welcome to the Tony DUrso Show.
Hey, Tony, it's a pleasure and honor to be here with you.
Israel, it's an honor to have you. You've done so much. You've helped so many people. I want to learn too. Let's talk about supercharging our business. And perhaps just before we get into that, perhaps you could fill us in a little bit on how it all started for you. How did you get this vision to do what you're doing? Tell us about your journey.
That's a very good question, Tony. And typically when people ask me this question, I always go back to my youth because, growing up, at a young age, my father had passed away from a massive heart attack. He was only 29. I was about 3 months old when he died. So I never really got to know my father and sit down and have a conversation. And, I made a lot of mistakes growing up, was very rebellious. I had a speech impediment problem. I was actually held back in 2nd grade. And I had a rough upbringing. And I had to develop sooner than later. And actually, anytime someone asks me, Israel, how did you get started in entrepreneurship? I talk about my history and I go back to when I was 7 years old, when I actually had an unfortunate incident, which I actually died. I actually drowned in a pool and, I was already clinically dead, as they say. And I was going to where God was. And all of a sudden, a man jumps into the water and I'm back into my body. And this man pulls me out of the water and I turn around and see who it was to say thank you, to see who the guy was. And there was no one to be found. And that was the moment in life where I knew I was given a second opportunity and I was given a chance because of purpose. I didn't know what my purpose was, but I was conscious enough to know that, okay, someone's looking after me and there's something that I have to do on this earth. And because I know I should not be on here. And it was the moment where everything shifted for me. I was physically, emotionally, spiritually changed when I was given that second opportunity. And then slowly and surely through there, I had the opportunity of, getting connected to a couple of people that kind of poured into my life, but I never really had a mentor in my life growing up. So I continued to make a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors. And it wasn't until I got to college that things really shifted for me. And I gained clarity that entrepreneurship and serving people in this area of business was part of what my purpose was connected to.
Israel, I can't get past that. Someone jumped in the water. You were basically dead and took you out and brought you back to life, and you never ever saw that person? That person never surfaced again?
Never knew who the guy was. Actually, my sister always spoke for me at that time because I had a very bad speech impediment problem. I was very introverted. Partly is because my I didn't have my dad in my life, and I wanted to just sit down and have a conversation with my dad. So I was introverted and took it out at the world. But my sister always understood me, and she would communicate to my mother what I wanted. And she asked the people around, she was like, "Hey, who was it?" And jumped in and said, "My brother," because I had jumped in the pool to actually get her earring that was, that was inside of the pool, and I tried to get it, and that's why I drowned. And they were like, "There was nobody here that's described the way you described the man that works here." And it's crazy because I was only 7 years old at the time, and God forbid I'm at a pool or anything, and if I jump in to save someone, I'm gonna bring that child to their parents or to who at least who's watching over them. But there was none of that, Tony. It was like in and out. The guy went in and completely went out and disappeared. Didn't say a word to me or my sister or anybody there.
That is really quite amazing. And how did that change your life? You mentioned a little bit, but did that set you on a different path? Here you are, you're helping businesses, entrepreneurs, but you're 7 years old at the time. What did that do for you?
Yeah, got to be honest, Tony. It didn't change me in sense of the direction I was going, rebellion and all of that, because I still continue to make mistakes. But what it did, it planted a seed in my life. It planted a seed of faith, of recognizing that there was something bigger than me and my life issues, because I died. I clinically was dead. My soul came outside of my body. Typically, I shouldn't be. I should be either brain dead or died like not come back. Right. So it was very evident that there's something that I have to do on earth. And I didn't really know what that was, but I knew that there was a seed of faith planted in me. And I got to be honest with you, Tony. I came back and I wanted to find the guy. I was trying to find the guy throughout the whole time I was in Dominican Republic. The place I drowned was a place called Monte Cristi in Dominican Republic, and I was trying to find the guy. Like I was literally trying to find this guy because I just wanted to say thank you to him. I wanted to give him a hug. I just wanted to say thank you and to give him acknowledgement. And I never had that opportunity. So who I thanked was God. And I had an appreciation for God. I didn't really know who God was, wasn't born religious. Maybe went to church once or twice a year, the occasional Easter or Christmas, but I didn't have any concept of God or afterlife or nothing. And it was a touch from God in my life that I really appreciate, because it has given me clarity in knowing that my life is not an accident, knowing that my life has purpose. And it so happens to be that my purpose is connected to people, and specifically people mainly, not only in everyday life, but primarily entrepreneurs, visionaries that are looking to grow and really release their messages and gifts out there to the world. So I didn't know that at the time, but as I grew and I discovered more about my gifts and callings, I was able to gain some clarity that this is what I was born to do in part, and this is what I love to do. And I'm very thankful, and I live in gratitude, because I know that I'm living on borrowed time, and I want to make sure that I fulfill everything that I'm supposed to do while I'm on this side of eternity.
I think that is an amazing story. I know I keep saying amazing, but I'm just spellbound by that story that someone just took you out, saved your life, and that little seed of helping people. Because, fast forward, I've seen the testimonials on your page. I've listened to some of the people that you've helped, and it's um it's incredible the journey they've taken from struggling to 6, 7 plus figures, and this is the real deal. And I see somehow that purpose there to help others, to help people survive, help people be successful. And we really need you more than ever in these days and times. Things have gotten really crazy, especially starting last year in 2020. And I like to know, maybe you would have just been a normal entrepreneur, coach, consultant, but you're a knee plus ultra. You do so much more. So let's kind of examine this purpose and let's take it apart. Let's start with the most basic question of all. Why do you do what you do?
It's a very good question. I do what I do because I want to live a legacy and I want to transfer everything I have to others. I want to build an army of communicators, of visionaries that serve their gifts, their solutions, their missions to the world. And I want to be used as a vessel, as a conduit of empowering others so they can release their gifts to the world. And that's really what drives me. Um, in business, you get to a point where, most people think that their why is just money. And I tell people, I'm like, there's three things that we look for when we work with someone, and it's really number one, they need to have a product or service. Number two, they need to have a target market or a niche or who they want to work with. And then number three is the most important. They have to have a why that's greater than them. They have to be purpose driven because it's going to get to a point if you're in business already, and many of you have already successful in terms of profitable, that money is not going to be a concern. And if money is just your driver, if money is just your why, at some point you're going to give up or you're going to settle and you're going to be comfortable. And that's part of my story as well, which I can share here about my car accident that I got into that kind of accelerated things for me, right? I talked about when I was 7 years old, but there was another accident, I call it the catalyst, that really made all the difference for me in terms of taking action. And I think we're in a critical point in life where our why has to be greater than us. You mentioned something at the beginning of the show, Tony, that's very important. And I've been on many different interviews, but I got to tell you that you're the first person that has brought it up. It's the fact of the word potential, and that word partner. And I believe that our potential is limited to the partners and people that we associate to. In other words, I think that there's people's potential is limited and dependent on someone else that they accept in their life. For example, as a mentor and coach and a high level speaker trainer, it's really easy for me to be objective with others. I look at what other visionaries are doing, some highly profitable speakers, and I'm able to give them small distinctions that make all the difference in terms of conversions. But it's very tough for me to do it on my own because as mentors and speakers and coaches, we can be objective with others, but it's tough for us to be objective with ourselves. As the great Les Brown says, it's hard to see the picture. It's hard to see the frame if you're in the picture, right? Sometimes we have to come outside the box to pour into ourselves. So I think that potential and purpose are connected. And when you really seek your purpose, you'll be connected to the right partners and people that can help you extract the potential that's within you. And that's what I do as a partner. And I seek to partner with people that I can improve the quality of their life and really help them fulfill their purpose and mission.
We're talking about supercharging your business with Israel Duran, and you can find him at israelduran.com. And I'm going to spell that. We know the word Israel. Duran is DURAN.com, israelduran.com. Israel, let's get into your vision path here and let's break this apart a little bit. Let's talk about how your vision has helped you to successfully help entrepreneurs scale and monetize their business. And I'm going to focus on one key word. You have the ability to empower entrepreneurs by helping them grow highly profitable, purpose-driven businesses. Let's talk about that.
Yes, Tony. In three simple steps, we teach people how to discover, design, and deliver their gift to the world. And what I tell people is typically, there's a great saying that says, without vision, people perish. And in life, sometimes our vision is tainted because of the question you asked. Our why is not aligned to purpose. And when you don't have a why that's clear, that's not greater than you, your vision will be tainted. Because if it's just about you and just about what you can gain, then again, once you gain it, what do you do? But when your vision is about a greater need, a greater purpose, a greater vision, you're able to do so much more. So, in three simple steps, we teach people how to discover, design, and deliver their gift to the world.
Israel, let's have some rubber meet the road on this. Let's talk about some of your successes. I talked about it. I've listened to some of your testimonials. Anyone, if you go to his website, you can hear them. But I want to hear your success, especially from the point of what the person came with. You know, they had a product, they had whatever, and where you took them. Perhaps you could take it from there.
Very good question. I love to use examples that most people can relate to because we do work with some very profitable authors, speakers, coaches, consultants that already have a 6 to 7 figure brand and they're looking to scale past 7 and 8. And, they're successful. But I can easily use a testimony of one of those, but I rather use a testimony of someone that's just pretty much getting started and came to us with, a product, but didn't have a lot of things in order. And she's a woman in her 30s, and she came to us with a product that was already doing decent. She was making some sales, but she wanted to scale it to the next level. And we partnered with her to do an event where we went ahead and built out all her systems online in terms of funnels, the integrations, the email sequences, and also ran her primarily did some organic and also Facebook ads. And in her first event with us, she did over 25,000. The second event, she did over 32. And now the third event, she just did over 50,000 in a 5-day event online. And those may seem like big numbers to potentially some of you, but in reality, when you have a product, let's say that's a $3,000 product or even $1,000 product, and let's say you have 200 people that show up to your event, how many people do you need to raise their hand to say yes to your proven solution, to generate 10K, to generate 50K, right? Once you systematize your front end in terms of online, you're able to then nurture your audience. And that's really what we encourage people to do. You see, it's good selling one-on-one, but what's most effective is selling one on many. And that's why we primarily use stages. And with this specific client that I'm referring to, a woman in her 30s, the big pivot point for her was going online, systematizing her process instead of selling one to one, selling one to many.
Israel, you said something which really struck a business chord with me as an entrepreneur. And I know I've mentioned that you help people achieve 6 to 7 plus figures and so forth. But you said in your example, you brought in someone, a client, who just had a few sales. And what I'm thinking in my head is like just a few sales, like this, it's not a big business. It's definitely not 6 figures. It could be in the 5 figures or low. You
Yep.
take on clients that embryonic in a way.
We have helped people at zero. Our process is pretty much in depth because it's not a cookie cutter process. We take people through their gifts, the gifts that they have. And most people, they have amazing gifts, but they're not clear on how to position themselves, how to communicate their message to attract the right audience to scale. But we have helped many well successful speakers and coaches, helping them clients that are already at 6 figures looking to scale past 7. And that's our sweet spot primarily. But I wanted to give an example here that so anybody that's listening, whether they're just getting started already scaling, that using events and using the stage online is one of the most effective and most predictable ways of scaling in terms of when you have a product. Now, when you have a service, which we also teach service based businesses to systematize their service into a product. Because as you know, Tony, products scale faster than systems and scale faster than services. And typically, sometimes people find themselves exchanging their time for money. And it's tough to scale online with that because you're limited on your bandwidth. But when you systematize your service into a product, let's say you create a membership program or a program, you're able to deliver great results to people that you're called to serve and doing it in a way that's scalable and not taking all of your time up. And that's our primarily our sweet spot, which we love to help people. So use an example of our client in her 30s. She was in that range. She had a system, she had a service, but she needed to systematize it further so she can scale online. And that's what we did for her.
Israel, we want to learn from you. We want all your secrets. Please share more. What are these secrets and how do you scale someone so fast? These are very real numbers. They're extraordinary numbers. Please teach us more.
Yeah, I when people ask me that, Tony, I'm an educator. I love to educate because I think education is empowerment, or at least specialized education. And really there's three areas that I love to bring light and shed light to entrepreneurs and students that we work with is business, money, and speaking. And under business, there's really four pillars that we teach. And I'll kind of slow this down. You mentioned it earlier. And number one, the first pillar is branding, right? Branding. The second pillar is marketing. The third pillar is sales. And the fourth pillar is operations. And whether you're a small business, corporate company, B2B, huge agency, or you're just a coach or consultant that's looking to just get started, or even a nonprofit, these four pillars are so critical if you want to grow and sustain your operations. And I'm just going to give a short definition for each because I think it would add value to those that are listening, and also extract value and potentially even give you clarity in areas where you may want to bring some refinement or some laser focus. So, branding, the way I define branding is what people say about you and your brand when you're not in the room. So, the way that you should build your brand is in a way that when you leave the room, people say exactly what you want them to say because of the service and the positioning and the over delivery that you carry. And this is very practical, Tony, because in one of my events, I actually have a video that I left the room at one of my events. My clients, my students and clients that came, that had no idea. I said to them, I brought them up in the front of the room. I said, look, I just taught branding and I'm going to demonstrate it here. My students don't know that I'm doing this. They have no idea. But I'm gonna leave the room now. So I left the room from one of my events. I literally walked out, left the room. People don't. I suggest people not to do that. By the way, you don't want to leave a room and leave the mic there. Things can get a little bit crazy for those of you that already run events. But I did it because there's a sense of trust with my students, and I wanted to demonstrate what I teach. So I left the room. I told them I'll be back in 15 minutes. They took about 25 to 30 minutes. When I was going to go back in, my team messaged me, "Hey, don't come in yet. They're still going." And I got to tell you, Tony, when I left the room and I came back, and obviously I listened to the recording because I had my camera guy there recording. They said exactly what I wanted them to say, but I never said to them what I wanted them to say. What I did was I answered the question. I took a piece of paper before. I typically do this every 3 months. I say, what do I want my students, clients, and employees and team members to say about me and my brand when I'm not in the room? And I write it down. I literally write it down. I say, I want them to say that I'm professional. I want them to say that I over deliver. I want them to say that I go above and beyond. I want them to say that I pay attention to detail. I want them to say that I'm results driven. I want them to say that I'm a leader, that I'm trustworthy, that I'm someone that they can look up to, someone that helps them improve the quality of their life. And I write all these things down. So then in my business and day to day, in my culture, in my organization, I make sure that these values are upfront. And I make sure that we purposely over deliver on these things. So when and if our students or clients have an opportunity to talk about how we made a difference in their life, they say exactly what I wrote or even better. And I demonstrated it. So you and your company and your business, those that are listening, if you want to take your company to the next level, ask yourself the question: what do I want people to say about me and my organization? What do I want people to say about me and my nonprofit? And write it down. And then choose to implement those values and qualities in your organization. And I can almost guarantee you that if you do this, you're going to see a difference in not only your internal operations, but also how your clients and students are receiving your service.
I see that as a point of integrity and how you would see that you deliver and provide more than people think you're going to get, but you actually want that to happen. You actually want to do it versus some people may just mouth it off. We hear this a lot when we're being sold to attend someone's webinar, seminar, and so forth. You know, hey, trust him, and this person is good and all that. But what I see is interesting, and that's really not a good word. What I see is great, is that you care that people get that. And the only way that you can deliver and see that people get that is by actually being real and delivering that and seeing that you deliver it, as opposed to just taking people's money. There's a school of thought, it's just, which we've run into, it's just take people's money and move on and then let them fend for themselves, whatever. But you go the extra mile. And not that, I work for you or your company or that I'm one of your sales guys, but I really see that as setting as setting you apart, which is why I brought you on the show, because I really like the message that you deliver. I was impressed when we had our pre-interview, really blown away by what you do. And this just shows the care. So whether someone wants to try your services or not, they at least know that you are what you say you are. And I like that. That's very, very good.
Just to finalize there, I would just say for those that are listening to this, supercharging your business, I want to encourage you implement this what we just went over, and you'll see some supercharging happening in your business. So this is some practical steps that you can take that can make a difference.
Good. Israel, I want to go into the main ingredients to a successful business, but I want to look at it from a different way. I want to look at it from the way of, just like you mentioned before with that success, someone came, they had just a few sales. So when we have, whether we have a course or a class or a service or a book, what is it that we need in place in order to work with you or someone like you that can actually scale us and take us up? Do we just need a book? Hey, I'm an author. I have a book. Is that all it takes? What do I need? What are some of these key ingredients, but perhaps there's a better word, key items, key products, key items that are completed? What do I need to be able to know that I have a good chance of scaling up and making a lot of sales?
Visionaries that we can make a big shift for in terms of where they are and where they want to be, doesn't matter if they're already at 6, 7, or they're trying to get past 8, are visionaries that typically already have a product or service that is selling, that they're getting sales. And number 2, they know who they're working with, meaning they already are clear on who their target market is and who they're working with. And number 3, they got to be coachable and they have to be purpose driven, meaning it just can't be about them. That's why we have an application process for those that want to work with us, because we don't work with everybody. We're very selective, but the individuals that we typically are able to hit home runs with because we partner with them are individuals that carry those 3 distinctions.
Okay. Okay. I'm getting this. It's soaking in.
Yep.
And one thing, Israel, is we're always on the lookout for what helps us in our path, in our journey of success and growth at our business. And one thing that I love finding out about is the personal habits of our guests, because they're amazing. I've heard so many amazing personal habits that have helped people achieve success. We'd love to hear, and we want to learn from you. What are your keys to success for your own business?
I think that's an amazing question, Tony, and I believe we're really connected because what I was going to share earlier was my car accident, and really my this car accident that I was also had a near death experience was really something that was used in my life to help me produce better habits. And some of those habits are really what I want to share. But let me, if I will, just to share that car accident, because I think perhaps someone could relate to it. I was working full time, had 2 businesses on the side, making a lot of money, very comfortable, very comfortable. And I was driving to a farm one day up in upstate Connecticut, picking something up for my wife here. And I was driving normally. It's midday. I think it was before. Actually, it was early morning, probably like 9 or 10 a.m. And driving speed limit, going very well. And I was driving my car, and all of a sudden, in the middle compartment, some water had spilled, like randomly, like just water started spilling. And I'm just like, okay, what is this water doing? Why is this spilling? So I went down and I moved the water and I moved some other things that I had there onto the passenger seat, and I feel a thud. I feel a thud. So when I feel a thud, I look back up, and I got to tell you, this is 2 or 3 seconds. I'm inside of the middle of the highway. So the highways, like highways coming left, highways going right, and I'm inside of the middle, meaning the metal. And here in Connecticut, we have like grass in the middle of the highways, and I'm in there. And I had to make a decision in less than 2 seconds to either, I was going about 70 miles per hour, risk hitting a V-shaped intersection where my car probably would have flipped over and gone into the other side of oncoming traffic because the lane that I was on, or the highway, was a little bit higher than the other side, or I had to take a hard right and get back on the highway that I was on. And Tony, I got to tell you, I didn't even think about it. It was like someone put, take a hard right. And I just took a hard right and I took a 90-degree turn. 90-degree turn going 70 miles per hour. And I was driving a Honda Pilot at the time. And as you know, Honda Pilots, they're top heavy. So when I took the 90-degree turn at 70 miles per hour, my car was going to flip over. My car was actually flipping over. And it was like it came up and then something held the car down. That's what it felt like. It was like car, because when you take a car, just natural physics, and you're going 70 miles per hour and you take a hard right, like that, literally a 90-degree turn on the wheels, naturally that car is going to flip over. And the car was going to flip over and it came back down. I lost control of the vehicle, crossed the 3 lanes of the highway, didn't hit any vehicles. Meanwhile, there's 18 wheelers and cars all around, didn't hit any vehicles. And I hit the other side of the lane, Tony, perfectly. Like perfectly. And it wasn't me driving because I lost control. And my car kind of did like a hook parking. I hit directly like this to the vehicle, to the guard, and my car like reverse park on the actual railing. I have a photo and on my presentations and events for those of you that perhaps maybe already seen it. But I came outside the car, Tony, and what's crazy is two cars stopped, two vehicles stopped. There was an 18-wheeler that stopped behind me, and there was a small car that stopped in front of me. In the smart car, the guy came out, and this is what he says to me. He says, "Dude, you hit that railing perfectly. If you would have hit that railing any other way, your car would have flipped over and gone into the lake. Because behind that railing, there was a lake down the hill." And when he said that to me, Tony, he got my attention, or her creator got my attention. And I felt a strong impression that said, it's time to release what you have inside of you. And Tony, within 2 days from that car accident, I released my third business. Now I have 5 going on 6. Within 3 weeks from that car accident, I released my first book, which I released in 2 languages, in Spanish and also English. And that book has got me now on radio shows, has opened doors for me that money cannot buy. And the reason why I share this story to answer your question is that day, it was 4 days after my second daughter, Annabelle, was born. I have 3 children now, Abigail, Annabelle, and Abiel, and I'm a happily married husband with my wife, Jessica. And that day was very emotional for me because when I came back home, you see, my daughter, my recently born daughter was there, and I was reminded of my father, on how my father wasn't there to see me walk and how he wasn't there to be with me. And that's why I live in so much gratitude, and I love people and I want to empower as many people as I can because I know that I'm living on borrowed time. And that event for me, I call it the catalyst, produced in me an acceleration, produced in me a sense of urgency, a sense of diligence, a sense of need of being humble so I can grow in the areas that I'm called to grow and delegate and duplicate everything else so I can fulfill what my life's purpose is. And those are really the 3 habits that I would recommend people to develop is a sense of urgency in their purpose, a sense of diligence, meaning don't procrastinate, like don't wait. That book that I released within 3 weeks from my car accident, that book was actually supposed to be released a year and a half later, and it was accelerated. And that business that I was supposed to start, I was already doing more or less coaching and mentorship on the side, but I was limited because I was comfortable. And number 3 is delegation, creating a habit of building systems and delegating because systems and processes build wealth. And as a leader, because I believe everybody's called to be a leader, as a leader in the area of gifting that you're called to dominate, you should be building systems and delegate. Because when you don't build systems, what happens is you micromanage people and then you limit your growth. But when you build systems, the system itself will manage, and then that way you can grow and master the areas that you're called to master. And those are truly the 3 habits that I would recommend. Again, number 1, urgency in your purpose. Number 2, diligence and delegation that will ultimately lead to duplication.
Quite a story. And we got so tied up and sidetracked on other aspects of business that we didn't bring it up and discuss it earlier when you wanted to bring it up. So I'm really glad that you did. What a story. And, it reminds me of when I was driving a car once in the California freeways. It was a car that's not made anymore. It was called an Opal. Very embarrassing. I think it was called an Opal, and the steering locked. And I'm
Wow.
on a very fast moving near freeway type traffic area, and the
Wow.
steering locked up, and I had no control of the steering wheel, and something took my car safely through all the lanes, missing every car, and stopped at a pole. It was absolutely. I
Wow.
never thought about that again until now. Never, never, never told anyone. No one knows about it. My wife, family, no one. So now 3 people know about it.
Yeah. No, that's
And
powerful. That's not coincidence,
it's
Tony.
profound because something is taking you, and I
Yeah.
understand that. I totally, what a story. Wow.
That's a powerful story, Tony, and I would encourage you to continue to share that because your show is reaching millions, and it's gonna continue to reach millions, and, that's I mean, wasn't planned, but that doesn't that's not a coincidence. There's too many variables against that happening. It's ending out good. The fact that you were on a lane, right? And I can relate because I know I was in the same more or less thing. So, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I've never looked at it again as to what the message, but I'm gonna ponder that again very, very soon when we're done here, and thank you for pointing that out. But let's back to you. This is an interview about you. We wanna know more about you, and we have a few more minutes. One question I wanna know is, you've moved so far so fast. What are you looking to accomplish in the next few years?
Very good question. What I'm looking to do is build an army of communicators, army of visionaries, and I'm looking for partners that I can help them get to where they want to be in terms of with their messages and reaching it globally. I believe that your G equals G. What that means is that your gift is equals a global impact. And those are the partners that I'm looking to partner with, helping people scale their messages to market, helping them clarify their message so they can attract more of their target market so they can continue to deliver the results to this community of people all over the world. And in turn, me helping and our company and organization helping them, we indirectly are impacting hundreds of thousands, if not millions, across this whole globe. And that's what I'm focused on doing. It's a part of my purpose. It's something that I love to do. And because of our technical understanding on technology and automation and all the things that typically a visionary doesn't want to get into, right? They just want to focus on presenting and deliver the greatness, or a CEO just wants to focus on the bigger picture. We are that support mechanism for many visionaries so they can focus on presenting, whether it be us filling their event with hundreds, if not thousands of people like we have for many, so they can just focus on presenting their greatness and not having to worry about the weeds and all the other stuff that typically they don't want to work on. But it's funny because, I was a stuttering boy, stayed back in second grade, and now I train some of the world's most profitable speakers, authors, consultants, coaches. It's almost ironic how a stuttering boy who stayed back in second grade because he had a speech impediment problem and he was introverted, rebellious because he took it out on the world because he lost his father at a young age, now trains speakers and coaches at the highest level. So I want to encourage you. You have a gift and it's global.
You would never know because you speak so eloquently and professionally. You would never know.
Thank you.
Israel, we have a few minutes left, and I'm very curious. What else should I know? Should we know about you? What else should we know about what you do and how you accomplish what you do? Is there anything else? We've asked about your secret sauce. We've asked about your methodology. I'm just looking. Is there anything else that you would like to let us know about?
Yeah, if I was listening to this on the other side and I was seeking more value or seeking to help me in my current situation, doesn't matter where I was, successful, not successful. I would love for someone to give me clarity on how things work. So I just want to give one gem on it's the book that I released called Money Management Mindset. And I talk about how money works and really understanding the significance of revenue and all that. And I want to just give you clarity on what money is, if you will. Money, I want you to think of money as spiritual. And sorry about that. There was a little lag there. I want you to think of money as spiritual. Money is not physical. And one of the biggest things that I see training entrepreneurs is that people have different beliefs on money. And we have all heard it that money is the root to all evil, which is a lie, because money is not the root to all evil. It's the love of money that is the root to all evil. And with me, before really going in depth with entrepreneurship, that's the limitation that I had, because I thought that money was evil. So I would find myself in a conflict of, okay, well, I want to grow business, I want to help people in business, but money's evil. And I found myself going back and forth until I discovered that money is not evil. Money is a tool, and money is actually spiritual. And if you want to make more money, don't focus on money. Focus on how you can solve problems, how you can create solutions to problems. The bigger problem you can solve, the more money you can command. The smaller problem you can solve, the less money you can command. And money is spiritual, meaning $100,000 to someone can be a lot of money. To someone else, it might be something that they make in a day. So money has the value that you or I give it. So it doesn't matter where you are, again, if you're successful, just getting started in business, or looking to scale past 7 and 8 figures, it's important to renew your mind on how you view money and how you steward it. Because there's certain principles that if you violate, doesn't matter if you believe in them or not, they will affect you. For example, if I were to drop this water bottle on the floor, doesn't matter if I believe it's going to go on the floor or not, it's going to go on the floor. Why? Because of the law of gravity, the principle of gravity. And there's a principle that I have learned that if you focus, if you're just money driven, and if you don't understand money, you're not going to really make a lot of it. But if you focus on service and focus on solving people's spiritual problems, and you create solutions and you create ideas that can focus on solving someone's problem, money will be attracted to you. Because again, money goes to people who can solve problems and meets people's need. And I want to also give you another gift for all of those that are interested in learning more or getting more of this content here. I have free gifts and trainings available for everybody. If you go to israelduran.com, israelduran.com, there's more gifts and trainings for everybody. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much for giving us that. Thank you for the gifts. I really like that on money. You've set it in perspective. Very, very nice. And now we can make more because we're doing something viable with it. It's very, very good. And there's more to ponder on that. I'm going to definitely listen to this again. Once again, we talked about supercharging your business with Israel Duran. And yes, you can find him at israelduran.com. Israel, thank you so much for sharing with us. I've learned quite a bit, and you've helped me take things to another level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with me while I featured an elite entrepreneur who took his vision to reality. I know this was as inspiring for you as it was for me to do this interview. Supercharging your business with Israel Duran. His dad died when he was young. Very sad. And he died in the pool while at 7. But he was saved by someone who no one ever saw, and he never found out who it was. That's definitely divine intervention. What a story. We talked about how he has the ability to empower entrepreneurs by helping them grow highly profitable, purpose-driven businesses. And he gave an amazing success story of what he does. Someone with just a few sales in their hands, and Israel helped that person make tens of thousands at multiple events. And he gave us the secret of success. Do you remember what he said? We talked about his being real and caring what people think of him. That is a characteristic of being genuine and having good character. We talked about what do you need in place in order to scale your business? Is it just having a book or a service? Israel basically said that if you know who your customers are and you are getting some sales and you have that part in place, then you have the foundation for great growth with a company like his, with help, with mentorship, consulting, or so forth. You have the pieces, you have the parts to go all the way up. We talked about, this is big, money is spiritual. It's not at the root of evil. The love for money is what gets people in trouble. Profound. In his car accident story, there is no doubt that there was some divine intervention there to help him survive on the freeway while at that speed of 70 miles per hour. He made me think of my story that I never shared with anyone. Both of those stories are miraculous. And what did you get? Please tell me how you use this information to help you in your business. Did this interview give you any ideas? Please tell me that it did. Did it stimulate you to take some new action? Please share and grab hold of your vision. Keep working on it. Decide you're either going to start something great for your business or simply take what you have to the next level. You know this. You have to decide first. It always starts with a decision. And you can get my vision map to help you along the process. The book is at DUrso.com/books. I created a sustainable business. I call it my empire. In just a few years, I wrote up the vision map as my guide. You can do it too. And please remember supporting the show with a nice review or comments on the video platforms. And of course, you can go to TonyDUrso.com/review and share this with a few friends to help them too, right? I know I asked you that earlier. Let's help you move on your journey to success. Thanks. And remember, just take action. Success awaits those who persevere and remain steadfast despite the odds. Sow good seeds, do good deeds, and join me on the next episode of The Tony DUrso Show.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's edition of the Tony DUrso Show with his key influencers. Be sure to tune in again next Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Influencers channel.